For centuries, Earth drifted quietly in the spiral arm of its galaxy, a small blue world overlooked by the great powers beyond the stars. To the Galactic Alliance, it was nothing more than a backwater planet, no rare minerals, no strategic position, no advanced ships to boast about. Most alien cartographers didn't even bother marking its name. But that changed when a damaged Alliance scout vessel, caught in a sudden meteor storm, limped into Earth's orbit with failing engines and no hope of rescue. Expecting primitive life at best, the alien crew instead found humans strange, determined creatures who spoke in fast words, worked with their hands, and refused to watch strangers die. In less than a month, with tools that looked ancient by galactic standards, they repaired the ship's core, reinforced its hull with scavenged steel, and even improved its navigation systems. The alien captain, shaken by what he had seen, filed a report to the Council warning that this species was different. But in the vast bureaucratic halls of the galaxy, his words were buried and ignored. No one realized it yet, but the quiet blue planet had just revealed its first spark, and some in the stars had begun to take notice. Months after the strange incident with the damaged scout ship, a sleek silver cruiser appeared in Earth's orbit, bearing the crest of the Galactic Alliance. This time, it was no accident. It was an invitation. The humans were not offered trade or friendship. Instead, they were given a challenge that had already humiliated 3 advanced civilizations. A terraforming module, the size of a small house, lay broken beyond repair, its systems designed in alien patterns no human had ever seen. It was a test meant to measure the limits of Earth's so-called adaptability. Observers from across the stars arrived to watch, expecting to see confusion, frustration, and failure. But instead of hesitation, the humans moved with sharp focus. They took the module apart piece by piece, mapping its strange circuits on sheets of paper, arguing in low voices, and replacing delicate alien parts with improvised components no one else would dare use. Hours turned into days, and when the machine powered up, it didn't just function, it worked better than when it was new. The observers whispered among themselves, unsettled by what they saw. It wasn't elegance that frightened them. It was the thought that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had underestimated this little blue world. When the hyperspace relay in the Dravik star system began to fail, panic spread across the Galactic Alliance. That relay was the only safe passage through a cluster of unstable wormholes, and without it, dozens of trade routes would collapse, isolating entire worlds. But repairing it was almost impossible. The relay sat deep inside a volatile star system where radiation storms erupted without warning, gravity tides shifted unpredictably, and the heat could melt the hull of most ships in minutes. One by one, the Alliance's most advanced species declined the mission, their leaders declaring it a death sentence. The Council, desperate, extended the offer to Earth as a formality, expecting refusal. Instead, the humans accepted without hesitation. A mixed crew of engineers, miners, and pilots launched aboard an old cargo hauler, stripping it down mid-flight and reforging it into a heavily shielded repair vessel. Every hour of their journey was spent modifying systems, welding new plating, and designing tools from whatever parts they could find. When they arrived, they worked in shifts under constant threat of being burned, crushed, or irradiated. Equipment failed, shielding cracked, and at one point, a solar flare nearly tore the ship apart. But the humans refused to turn back. On the second night, they rewired the relay core while navigating the crushing pull of the star's gravity, timing each movement between violent bursts of radiation. On the third day, the relay came alive, sending a steady signal through the wormhole network once more. To the galaxy, it was a miracle. To the humans, it was just a job worth doing. Somewhere in the Council's shadowed chambers, a quiet realization began to take root. This was not a species that backed away from the impossible. When the human crew returned from the Dravik system, they expected celebration, but what awaited them was far more complicated. In the great marble halls of the Galactic Council, their success was met with a mix of awe and unease. Some species applauded the bravery, but others whispered about the danger of a people who treated death as a challenge rather than a barrier. The mission logs showed decisions no other species would have made, overriding safety protocols, building tools mid-crisis, taking actions that should have ended in disaster yet somehow brought victory. To the cautious races of the Alliance, this was unsettling. To the ambitious ones, it was inspiring. Behind closed doors, deals were struck and debates raged about whether humans should be given more influence or carefully contained. Then came the proposal of permanent human seat on the Alliance Engineering Board, granting Earth access to technologies and projects beyond its reach before. Many argued it was too soon, too dangerous. But when the next crisis came, a failing orbital shield over a populated moon, it was the humans who volunteered first and fixed it before the Council even finished discussing who to send. That moment silenced many doubters. The galaxy was starting to understand. Humans did not seek danger for glory, but because the work needed doing and they could not stand idle. In that understanding, the first real shift occurred. No longer seen as primitive outsiders, humans became the ones you called when no one else dared to try. And while some feared what that meant for the future, others quietly began to wonder how far this strange, unstoppable species could go if given the chance. Years passed, and the galaxy no longer spoke of Earth as a forgotten corner of space. The small blue planet, once ignored by star maps, had become a name known in every trade hub, war council, and research station. Human-built ships began appearing in distant systems, each one carrying designs no other species dared to try. Engines reinforced to survive black hole gravity, hulls able to pass through plasma storms, and life support systems that could keep crews alive in places where even machines failed. Every year brought new stories, a human salvage team pulling an entire city dome from the surface of a collapsing moon, a group of miners tunneling into a volatile asteroid to stop it from shattering a colony world, pilots navigating blind through a nebula to rescue a stranded fleet. To other species, these feats looked reckless, but to humans, they were simply the right thing to do. This growing reputation brought more than praise, it brought fear. Rivals whispered that Earth's rise was too fast, that this adaptability could one day turn to dominance. Yet those who worked beside humans knew the truth. They didn't seek to rule, only to solve problems no one else could. In the Council's chambers, the human seat became one of the most active, proposing new approaches, offering volunteers for missions others called impossible, and pushing for cooperation over conquest. Still, in private, some leaders wondered if they had unleashed something they could not control. Because the more challenges they gave humans, the more those challenges were overcome, and with each victory, Earth's influence spread further. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Backwater worlds could be ignored for centuries, but once they rose, they could change the balance of everything. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of space, stories began to circulate of the next great mission, one so dangerous that even the bravest ships hesitated. The question was no longer who could do it. Everyone already knew the answer. The only question now was how far would the humans go this time?